but we do have, just like what you say, I do have on my website, that we are Christian, but we don't, all are welcome. So
all are welcome. It's not going to be in your face.
Yeah, I know it. So I love what you're doing, Kim,
Thanks.
with your story confidential. I'm so impressed, and I cannot wait to learn more about it. And so I think we're live now. Hey, Facebook world, happy Wednesday. And thank you for joining in on Healthy You this morning. We come at you live every Wednesday morning around 8:30 on Peoria Live. And it's our goal to really just educate you on things that can help you be better, to live a healthy lifestyle, to make it just a little easier, because it's really hard. It's hard to practice that discipline. It's hard to have it all together.
Exactly.
And so I am thrilled to be chatting today with my pal, Kim Brooks Miller. Hey, Kim.
Hey, Kim.
I know.
Both Kims. And you know what? We did not plan to dress kind of like this. So this is what's ironically funny. But I guess, Kim, great minds work together.
And purple.
And purple.
We love purple.
And the name.
So great minds do think alike. Well, we have known each other for a very long time.
We have. Yeah.
We worked together back when you were the president and owner of Healthy Sales magazine, and you did that in the community for years.
I did that for almost 6 years and decided it was time to make a change, Kim. And that's why I wanted to build this website of Your Story Confidential, because in my past of being in corporate, I used to be a corporate recruiter, but also too with this business, I just realized how much mental health was a huge key in just the overall big health picture.
Well, we were talking about that triangle, right?
Correct.
The mental, the physical, and the spiritual.
Right.
And how important that is. And so maybe you're listening and you feel like you're just juggling. You can't get it figured out. You need a little help. Maybe a counselor or a coach could really help you balance some things, get some things on track, and help you get living that healthy lifestyle. Hey, if you think one of your friends could be encouraged by hearing this Healthy You podcast, would you share it? Invite your friends to listen in, or post some comments and questions. I know Kim will be happy to come back and answer them later today. So show us some love. That always makes us feel good and encourages us, and we really appreciate you helping us spread the word. And so, so as a coach myself, I see that people who have a coach, for sure, since that's my industry, have better results when it comes to living a healthy lifestyle.
Right.
Now, there's different levels. You have your life coaches, and then you have licensed counselors.
Right.
So can you help us understand the difference of that just a little bit?
And actually, they can work very well in tandem. Life coaches are, and as you probably know, it's setting your goals and having somebody help you to reach those goals. And, it could be coaching on business, health, a lot of things, where the counselor kind of digs in and looks at what happened in the past to make it what it is today. What's kind of bothering you that we can work on now in order to improve, where the life coaching is more of the here and now, let's move forward. Even though it can go into other areas too. It depends on certifications, things like that. And so that's why on this site, and it's a virtual counseling website, there are life coaches and counselors, because not everybody needs a life coach, or, they need a counselor, or vice versa.
Right.
Right.
And sometimes if you just need that accountability, you did that, you described that perfectly, I think, because that's exactly what I would say as myself as a coach. I'm as that experience, and I can give them accountability and advice based on experience and certifications. But digging in deep requires a little more.
It's a lot of training, and people need to realize that. And, with some of the topics that we offer for counseling. I mean, there's some volunteer places that are out there that are great, but sometimes you need more than just the volunteer listening to you. You need somebody to really help you narrow down, scope it up, and move on to, a much more satisfied life. To be able to function well.
Yeah, it's a perfect fit because you've always you've done things that help people,
Right, well,
with healthy cells,
right.
and then also you serve on the board. You're like the president. You're president of the women's.
I'm president of the Women's Services Advisory Council at OSF.
Yes.
But I've been involved in the community off and on. I've had wonderful parents that have been great role models that way. But one of the reasons, though, that I started this site, Kim, is because in all my different walks of life, people have told me things, like probably they tell you. And it's like they share things and you think, wow, that's really heavy. You need to find some kind of help. But when I was working in corporate, I'd have these, C-level individuals telling me things, and I'd say, have you thought of talking to somebody about this, meaning a professional?
Right.
And they're like, I can't be seen in an office. I can't have my car seen in the parking lot because, unfortunately, in some cases, there still is a stigma to any kind of counseling. You're weak, you can't make decisions, this type of thing. And so I thought, you know what? There are a lot of things people are ashamed about. They don't want to talk to somebody face to face, but they desperately need that help. So that's why I created this website. And so people can go on, they can find a counselor that fits what their needs are.
Right.
But they can get help through live chat if they don't want to talk to somebody face to face, or email. This is all HIPAA compliant.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There's telehealth video, so it's like the Skyping, so they can talk with somebody if they want to. And then there's also the phone. And one thing that I have recently added is HIPAA compliant texting. So if you need to send documents that are sensitive, or want to directly contact your provider, you can, using this HIPAA compliant texting. So
it's, when you say HIPAA compliant, just to make sure everybody watching understands that, most people do now, because you have to fill out all these papers when you go to the doctor, but it is private.
It means it's very private. It's very safe to use. The site is encrypted, and I did a lot of research, Kim, after I sold the magazine and the radio show.
Yes.
Healthy You.
I didn't copy her.
No, she didn't. Again, it's a great minds
Maybe
working
it was
together.
Just in there somewhere. I'm sure it was.
But it's perfect. Hers is Healthy You with the U. Mine was Healthy You spelled out, and it was a radio show, not TV. So we're okay.
But that's okay.
But that's all right. I thought
perfect.
It was cute. So, but anyway, when I sold those things, and I really wanted to do this, it was a lot of research and a lot of demos of software in the background, and I wanted people where there was support for not only the if somebody was having trouble getting on, but for the providers. And so I finally found something, and it was creating the website, and I'm recreating the website again, which is going to be relaunched fairly soon.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I love it. So you kind of explained how you came up with this idea, and then obviously your story confidential.
Right. Everybody has a story, right?
Oh yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, think about it. I mean, maybe you've gone through a divorce. Maybe you're having a tough time in your job. Maybe you're looking for work. Maybe you lost your job. There's so many things, and particularly today, the world is so crazy.
Oh goodness,
it is so
yes.
crazy, and so everybody has a story to tell. So that's why I called it Your Story Confidential, because you can tell your story, start to heal, or start to move forward in life.
Yeah.
And it's confidential, strictly.
So if you need an accountability coach, if you just can't, sometimes, like you just said, our life is chaos. We're busy. You're busy. And you've got all these things you're juggling, all these balls in the air. And a coach could really, really help you balance those out, help you prioritize, give you some accountability, and maybe just put your craziness in some type of an order that you could, that would make it easier for you to live a healthy lifestyle. I think having a coach, sometimes I think to myself, every single person needs a coach. It's almost like it's having that person that's keeping you on track, saying, no, this is what you said you were going to do. You're losing sight of your priorities. I think they keep you in sight of your priorities. But then, like you said, maybe it's a little deeper. Maybe there's something that you went through that really deeply hurt you, or
it could be loss of a loved one, or even loss of a pet. I'm still grieving over a little pet that I lost. But, I think sometimes, too, some people might be crazy busy and others don't have enough to do. They need to get started.
Yeah.
And they might be procrastinators, but it just might be something kind of happen in their life where they're just stuck. And that's where, if they got on, started talking with somebody, and it's very easy. You just go to the site, there are directions there, and you click on a provider that's of interest to you, and they'll get back with you. And it's a really very simple type of thing. So it's really to help people just get going from where they were. Either they're so busy they need help with the organization piece and to slow down.
Right.
They've got so much. They're out here and they're really not accomplishing much of anything except running around in circles, right?
Doing all that busy
Yeah,
work.
busy. So it's like, what is most important? And like you said, those lists, organization, and accountability, that's huge. But then there's the other person where life seems to have just stopped for them. Okay, what do you need to get going? And so there are different people that are, on the site that can be very helpful.
And so how is it organized? So like if someone's listening now and they're thinking, I'm interested in having a coach. I've been thinking about that. Or maybe I do need to talk to someone, because you really made a very valid point when you said people can feel stuck. Do you feel stuck? I know. I mean,
I do sometimes.
I do too.
I do.
I hate that feeling too. It's the worst feeling when you feel like, I don't know which way to go. I just so I don't do anything. It's unproductive because you just don't do anything. So if they want to go to the website, well, first of all, the website is what?
It's yourstoryconfidential.com, all one word. And like I said, it's going to be changing the look of the website. We're going to have a lot more articles and some really neat interaction things. But the other piece of it is that when you go on, you can go to the directory and, look and see and read about the people and find out what are their specialties. And then there's a place to email them. And you can get with them, and then they can, sign up a time. But realize that it's the comfort of doing, getting coaching or even counseling, from your own home. Or maybe while you're, driving to work, or from the office if you can. Or, it's wherever. It's virtual.
It's virtual counseling.
Right.
That just hit, all of a sudden I had a revelation.
Right.
About what you are saying is like, from home.
Right.
This is virtual, so you can do it online.
Right.
On your phone.
Right.
So you don't have to go into an office.
That's right. That's right. You don't have to go into an office, and maybe you're, a young mom, you have little kiddies at home, you can't get away. Another perfect time, that you can call in and, get help or counseling or coaching.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Now, what about, how much does this cost? Like, how do you do the pay? How would someone pay for this?
Well, you would pay by credit card, but the payment and the costs are set by the provider. This is actually a virtual office for a provider. Like if you have a therapy practice right now, you could be on this site and have a virtual office.
Oh.
And so you put out what your rates are. So they will charge. Some are more than others. It just depends on what it is. And a couple take insurance. So there's also that possibility too.
So probably some of the licensed counselors that maybe have offices can take insurance, and then they can do this virtually.
Right.
And then obviously the life coaches, they just charge differently.
Right.
And so you're like that virtual office. So maybe somebody's watching that might be a life coach or a counselor. That's something I didn't think about.
Right.
Are you a life coach, or are you working on certifications to do that? Or are you a counselor that might be interested in being a part of your online?
Right. You can see where to sign up and what's all involved. You have to have professional liability insurance, of course. And I had to get cyber insurance for this whole thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to know what cyber insurance.
No, or the cost of it, but that's all right. We're here to help people. But anyway, for somebody who's interested, there is a page about providers and signing up. But they also have to be certified. Life coaches have to be certified too. This isn't just for somebody that wakes up and says, I want to be a life coach.
Right.
It's not like that at all.
No.
We're very serious about who comes on to help people like you out there, and me and Kim. And so they can sign up. And then what I do, I'm like the landlord of this virtual office.
Okay.
So I charge a monthly rent.
I got you.
And everything they make is on top of that. So it's I wanted to make it so the provider had a really good platform for additional outreach, because there's so many people that are not in close proximity of providers either.
Right.
I just heard of a lady that somebody shared with me. She drives an hour and a half to get her counseling, where if she could do it something like Your Story Confidential, it'd be right from her home.
Of course.
Right. And
she's
saving gas
probably
and
driving
time.
an hour and a half, maybe for privacy, out of her town, or could
There
be
were,
that
there were
she
no
just loves
there
the,
were no counselors in her town.
or she just lives in. I was going to say,
Yeah.
or she just loves the person that she's seeing, or she lives out in the boonies.
Right. And there's a lot of
And there's
remote
not-
spots.
there are
a lot
a
of remote
lot of
spots,
remote
you know.
spots.
And I grew up on a farm, so I can say that. But there are a
And
lot
I
of
grew up
remote
in
spots.
Alabama, so.
So there are a lot of remote areas where people can reach additional clients. And it's really catching these people that fall between the cracks.
Yeah.
You know, like the military person that has PTSD, has a hard time going out of their home. You know, they can call. Or the person that's suffering from colorectal cancer, they're having problems with their bowels. They really can't leave the house because of issues. So what they can call and get help online. So it's really
Or
slick.
physically, maybe someone's just physically disabled, and it's just very difficult to get out. I mean,
Right.
there could be so many reasons
Right.
why having this virtual coaching and counseling could be so beneficial to so many. I'm loving this. I'm learning so much about this.
Yeah, and you know, the other thing, Kim, too, is that the mental health, it affects everything. And it's the health. And you got to be healthy up here to be healthy physically, too. You know, it's how you think. I mean, stress, that is huge with people. We have people that handle the stress and anxiety. You know, that plays such havoc on your body.
Yes.
And some people realize that, some don't. But I think once you start to talk with somebody, you're like, you know what? I do need to talk about this. And you know, get your health back into whack.
And if there's anybody that's been following me or watches this show or knows anything about me, I talk about your mindset constantly.
Right.
It's our whole program with the I've Decided. It's that mindset. It starts in the mind.
Right.
And there's books about it. I mean, Joyce Myers has an amazing book called The Battlefield of the Mind.
Yes.
And there's just books after books after books about where everything in our life begins here.
Oh, it really does. And even how you think about yourself, it can be self-prophesying. And, you know, that's where you got to be thinking positive about things. And, you know, because if you constantly say, I'm a loser, I'm a this or that, well, guess what? That's how you're going to start acting. That's how people are going to start looking at you.
That's right.
So you got to change that mindset. But sometimes we need help. And this is what this is all about.
Yeah, you know, I just got chills because you said something that gave me a thought, and you said self-prophesying. And that is exactly what happens when you're talking that negative talk in your mind. You're self-prophesying over yourself. Over yourself, you're saying you're this, you're that.
Right.
And whatever you tell yourself you are, that's how you're going to behave.
Right.
It's like your kid. It's like a little kid. If you've got a toddler and you keep saying, you're acting like a brat, stop acting like a brat, you're being a brat. What you're doing
You're going to be a brat.
is creating a brat, because they're going to be what you're calling out in them.
Exactly. And it's also, too, what you get used to growing up. Some situations, and I know, you know, several women that their fathers were alcoholics.
Right.
They swore they'd never marry an alcoholic. Guess what? They married an alcoholic. So there are things that we have to break, you know, in our mindset in order to be better, to feel better about ourselves, which affects our health. And today's society does not help. I mean, you probably look at all the magazines and the Body Perfect and everything,
Yeah.
and you're thinking, and I think of the young girls today and the pressure they're under. We have somebody
I have
that
a 13 and 15-year-old, and it just, I pray over them every day because it's so scary.
It is scary, but I have somebody that is specialized in emotional eating disorders on there, you know, and so we have people that handle anxiety, grief, pet loss, which that's huge for, you know, baby boomers, people, you know, having kids leave it and their pets become everything.
And sometimes I have someone who works for me at Curves, and she's never had children. She's always had her dogs.
Right.
And those are her kids. Like,
Right.
it's they're her babies.
Right. Well, I can relate because that's me too. So, but the other thing, the topic that we also hit, and I really want people to know this, but we also have post-abortion counseling. I know for a lot of people it's taboo and ooh and all this stuff, but you know what? It's after the fact of pro-choice and pro-life. These are for the people that are now, some of them, many of them actually, that are walking wounded.
Yes.
Because this happened. And this is men and women. And so we're going to have it, on there too, that they can get that kind of counseling. And that's something that's shameful that a lot of people will not come forth on or even discuss. So this is why something private like this is perfect.
Yeah. That almost made me cry when you just said that, because there's forgiveness. And we don't want anyone walking around feeling shamed, because you know what? We don't roll out your red carpet. If we rolled out our red carpet of shameful things that we've done in our lives, and I know that for some people they think that's the worst thing I could do is abortion, but that's just something. If you've struggled with that, reach out. Get some help, because there is forgiveness after that, and you can still be healed.
Right.
And go on and live a full, successful life.
Right, exactly. And, again, that's what this boils down to. And when you can live a full, successful life, you're going to take better care of your health, too.
Yes.
And, that's where, again, we come up with the whole triangle. And one thing I do want to mention, Kim, is that this site is not a hotline. This is not a 1-800 type of hotline. This is where you schedule an appointment, making sure that this provider is for you. And the nice thing is that your first session is free. We like to make it that way because this is very new to the Midwest here.
Yes.
But also, too, we want to make sure that the person that's calling or emailing or whatever feels comfortable with this counselor, and vice versa. We want to make sure that the counselor is comfortable with this person and feels that they can really help them. But it gives you a feel, and then if you want to go on after that, then there would be some
This is just like if you were going to go to a counseling office or a coaching office.
Right.
It's just virtual. So it's not an emergency hotline number. There are emergency hotline numbers out there. So if you're in an emergency, they need to contact.
And there is a list, and I'm glad you brought that up, because there is a list on the resources page of all the 1-800 numbers. We do not handle suicides. There will be no phone numbers on that site to call except the 1-800 in the resources, which is suicide.
And that's listed on your website.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So if you need emergency help, go there and look for those.
Or just call 911.
Yeah.
That's really the best thing you can do. But if you feel that you're just suicidal or you're going to hurt or injure others along with yourself, that's where you need to go and call. But this is like your virtual office, exactly like you said. It's just like a regular office, but you book your time and,
And, in this crazy life, we can just all do the best that we can. And getting that accountability and getting that help, I love what you're saying. It is so important that I keep thinking about that self-prophecy. I don't know why I keep coming back to that, because I feel like I hear this a lot when I'm coaching the ladies at Curves, when I talk to them about their self-talk. And I can't believe over and over how many times I hear that they say, I always beat myself up.
Sure.
I always
and it's
say,
easy to do.
You can't do it, know.
And none of us are perfect. I still do. I did something it was dumb the other day, and it was dumb, and I'm like, Kim, you idiot. And I'm like, stop that. That is that negative self-talk. Just, don't go there. But, the other thing that we do offer on the site is that if you are a believer in Christ, a Christian, we do offer Christian counseling, and I know that's important to you.
Yes.
Very important to me, and I feel that God has really called me to do this. You don't have to have Christian counseling if you don't want to, but it is available.
It's available to all. You have something for everyone.
Right.
Almost.
Yeah, almost. We're still growing as general providers.
We're looking for something for everyone.
Right.
But there's a good chance that you can probably find a good counselor or a coach if you are needing to sort some things out.
But because how we're growing, though, Kim, this is another point, and I'm glad that you mentioned it earlier, but I am in need of additional counselors because of the growth. So if you are counseling out there, a life coach, like Kim said, you want to learn more about this, please feel free to go online. You can email me, give me a call. because I would be interested in talking with you, because you want to make sure it's a right fit.
Yeah.
And you know, the other thing too is that this is not to take away from the face-to-face counseling. Some counselors are like, no, I have to see the person. Well, some people you do, some you don't. But think about the convenience not only for you as a counselor, but for your client. If somebody has a super busy schedule, you can reach out to them, because sometimes, you know, they say 20% of counseling appointments are canceled just because I can't get away, something's come up at work, you know.
I would think it would be higher than 20%, actually, to tell you the truth.
It's the average of 20%.
Is it average? Because I think people look at it almost as an added benefit instead of a necessity.
Exactly.
But in all honesty, like I said in the beginning of the show, if you really want to be healthy, like truly live a healthy lifestyle, if you want to be successful in life, I think you need a coach. You got to start with a coach. You got to start with someone who can help you stay on track.
Right.
You know, you got to get in line with what you need to do. So you can start with a coach. But if it's deeper than that, you need to seek help. You know, if you're sitting around beating yourself up, if you're stuck, like you said, Kim, if you're stuck, you just don't know which way to go, or you had something tragic happen in your life, even like with what's happening now with the flooding in Houston, doesn't your heart,
it breaks your heart. Any of these things that you see, it does just break your heart, and you see what a broken world we live in. And it is so easy to affect you. And, you know, I'm on Facebook off and on. And candidly, sometimes I'm not on because of things that I see.
Right.
That make me just very sad and upset. And I thought, wait, I'm exposing myself to this. So,
yes.
You know, maybe it's time to change and do something else. But still, it's nice to know that there is a safe, private place that you can go to that's online, get the help that you need.
Yes.
And move forward and get out of that being stuck. I had a friend that called it stuck in the yuck, and actually he wrote an article for Healthy Cells magazine several years ago that was called Stuck in the Yuck, and it was great. And he came on radio with me, and he did a bang up job. But you know, that's why we have these types of things available.
Yeah. Are you stuck in the yuck?
Yeah.
Then reach out to Your Story Confidential. And Kim, you amaze me. You're just a little firecracker. You're all over. You do all kinds of volunteer work. Now, I would think this is just right up your alley. I can totally see why you opened this business, Your Story Confidential. You kind of grew up in the medical world, right?
Right, more or less, with my dad and everything, yes. But it's just that I saw over and over again hurting people and people not willing to get the help that really needed it because they were afraid of being seen or just exposing themselves. So this is why I thought, you know what? If I can make a platform like this, praise God, because now these people have an opportunity to seek and get the help that they need.
So I'm just curious, where did you get this idea from?
You know, actually a couple of things. First of all, there was a friend of my mother's years ago, very gorgeous woman from a very prominent family here in the area. I won't say anything because everybody will know the name in a heartbeat. And her husband used to drink and come home and knock her around, and she'd have these bruises, and she'd call my mom crying, and I could hear her over the phone talking with my mom. And I remember my mom saying to her, "You need to get help." And she said, "I can't. We go to this church. We have this business. We're members of this club. We're this. And I remember as a little girl thinking, boy, that's really sad. And then my early years, I had something that happened to me, and I really felt I couldn't talk to anybody because of, you know, my parents were very influential in the community. No, I wasn't going to embarrass the family, even though it wouldn't have been. But in my little mind back then,
it's
you know,
not embarrassing,
it's
but
not.
we put that on
But we
it.
put that stigma on it. So really, it was a development from that. But it was really working with some, you know, higher level business people when I was in corporate and saw how much they were hurting and the stress they had. But they felt they couldn't go anywhere, and that's what really spurred this on. And I've been wanting to do it for a while. So I thought once I took that break and you know, let go of the magazine, I just thought this is what I'm going to do.
That's
So
awesome.
it's done, and it's still work in progress.
Oh, and our time is up. I can't believe believe it. So thank you so much for tuning in to Healthy You this week. My awesome guest has been Kim Brooks Miller.
Thank you,
of Your Story Confidential. And just thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you,
I hope
Kim.
you come back.
Yes, thank you.
That's awesome.
And thank you, everybody. We'll see you later.
Yeah. Talk to you soon. That's great. Wow, I learned so much.
PeoriaLife.com